city shames a panhandler. We ask the experts, is giving $1 helping or hurting? Debating whether Senator Cory Gardner will pay a price for towing the party line on health care. You lost at the lottery, and Greeley won.
But this is an excellent example of lottery dollars at use.
An entrepreneur's dream is the federal government's nightmare.
It cannot make you high.
His fight against a pesky little law. Next. When you offer $1 to a panhandler in Denver, are you helping or hurting? And is it the government's business either way? Denver has long struggled with that question, and the city has a new idea for those of us who wonder what to do. The city of Cheyenne is getting blasted on social media after posting a photo of the cash taken off a drunken panhandler, spreading it out like it's a drug trafficker's loot. Their Facebook post has more reactions and shares than the city of Cheyenne has citizens. Many of those people are bashing the city for shaming a homeless man and criminalizing his choice to beg for money and other people's choice to give it to him. Denver's head of programs for the homeless told our Steve Stager that Denver would not handle it like Cheyenne.
If you've walked the 16th Street Mall, you've probably passed Ron Ligero and the message he carries on cardboard.
I let people know they should smile because it can be worse. There's people worse off than me.
Ron says he makes it a point not to beg, but he does panhandle and can make anywhere from $50 to $200 a day.
I use all my monies directly to have housing, food, clothing, and things that my dog needs.
And he asked for help right underneath a banner from the city of Denver suggesting your pocket change could go to better use.
We think that there's better ways to give.
That's Benny Milner, head of Denver's Road Home. You've seen their parking meters around town suggesting you donate there instead of filling the cup. You could text a donation now, too, and they would argue that donation goes further than a handout to someone standing on the corner.
There's sometimes that you see a situation that tugs at your heart, and so you just feel compelled to do it. But as an overall strategy, we wouldn't like to see it.
There are critics to that approach, of course.
It is also everyone's right to request charity in public, and it's everyone's free choice how to respond to that.
The ACLU doesn't discourage giving to charity, just like they say a city shouldn't discourage you from giving your money to anyone you want.
People are free to ask for help and to respond to that in whatever ways they choose.
I don't have the drug problem or alcohol problem and such. Unfortunately, some do.
Ron says the city's policy doesn't really impact him, and he'll keep holding his sign, hoping a positive message helps him out.
I myself don't bluntly ask for anything. I just sit here and pray every day that we get what we need.
There was a bit of controversy last year when the city of Denver used funds from Denver's Road Home to help pay for homeless sweeps. They've since corrected that issue and refunded the money and said all donations go directly to helping the homeless.
While simultaneously saying that those sweeps are helping. All right, Steve Stager, thank you. Moments before Senator John McCain's downturned thumb doomed Republicans' Obamacare repeal overnight, Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner was huddling with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Gardner was a key player pushing the Republican health care plan, despite his claims to have been undecided until the last minute. Brandon Ritterman, you cover politics for a living. Were you buying this whole Senator Gardner's undecided thing?
No, next question. No, I'm just kidding. All right. No, look, I don't presume to be inside the senator's brain. But the fact is he's had, the better part of 7 years to try and figure out how he wants to do this. He's always wanted to repeal Obamacare. He's right to say, we should wait and see what exactly gets added on as an amendment. But the fact is he voted yes on 3 wildly different plans to repeal Obamacare over the course of this week.
Yeah, I didn't believe it either. So there are trials coming up for disability rights advocates who were literally dragged kicking and screaming out of his office during a protest. I imagine that and the message is going to be in campaign ads against him.
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. He's not up until 2020, so he's not going to be in this next midterm cycle. It depends. A lot could happen on healthcare between now and then, so it really just depends on what's going to shake out. But sure, you can imagine what Democrats would want to message on this when you have those numbers about millions of people. They would say getting kicked off their healthcare. It's not kicked off. Some of them would have elected to leave, but at the end of the day, it makes for some spicy stuff.
And so much depends on where healthcare is at the time that Senator Gardner is running for re-election. Big question now. Cory Gardner has built his career on being congenial and accessible. Now that he is in the halls of power side by side with Republican leadership, are we seeing a different Cory Gardner?
He's congenial.
He is congenial. He's no longer accessible.
Accessible's been a little bit tougher, yeah. No, and look, when he was just in the House, you could get him on an interview at a moment's notice. Now he's got a lot of things going on, and he's been a little bit less willing to pop on camera and say what he is thinking.
Interesting stuff for sure, and our guy has a front row seat. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you.
Want to ask a question about trees in Denver these days. The yellow tags. It was the next question sent in by a viewer of ours, Jolie. She wanted to know whether the yellow tags, like those seen at Potenza Park recently, what they're about. They're eviction notices for trees. It's standard procedure as Denver Parks and Rec notes which trees in the public right-of-way are being removed due to safety issues or tree health. So basically those yellow tags are a courtesy notice to the public to say their last goodbye. Denver says it removed about 1,800 trees a year, and they plant 1,200 to 1,300, trying to balance out those removals. Denver's parks and parkways have an estimated 85,000 trees, 85,000, and there are just 11 city arborists who try to keep an eye on all of them. This program is an opportunity to spend a few moments looking into the lives of our neighbors who are willing to share some very private moments with the hopes that we will better understand their world. Tonight, we meet Gloria, Salvador, and Elisa Varela. Elisa is 46 years old. She has the intellectual capability of a kindergartner. Her parents shared their family's story through the lens of our Cody Broadway.
She was initially diagnosed when she was 2 years old with mental retardation. She was diagnosed when she was 16 with mental illness. Her intellectual capability is that of about a 7-year-old person.
I did ask myself, why me? Why Gloria? And I asked God to help her. But mostly, I guess I was asking God to help me understand.
Elisa, could we attach that to your sunglasses?
Just to the string.
Would that be okay? Would it be all right if I asked your mom to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wednesday is the day I go home because I usually go home at 10 to 10:30.
Elisa lives in a group home, comes to the parents' home and visits 1 day a week. She lives in Englewood with 2 other women and full-time caretakers.
I like to cook eggs because eggs are good. And I'm not sure the eggs are good because eggs are good for my stomach.
The main challenge has been finding a psychiatrist that works with developmentally delayed or challenged people that would be able to help her with the proper combination of meds that she needs. The second challenge that I have found so persistent and so pervasive is her safety.
She says hi to the old people and to young people, mostly to older people. Some people are rude and they don't respond well, but it doesn't make any difference to Elisa. She just turns around and looks for somebody else to talk to.
What does she mean to me? She's everything to me. She's my daughter, she's my little friend, she's my companion. She teaches me virtues that all of us would do well to emulate.
Before she was born, I was unaware of God's power, and she made it possible for me to believe in God.
Elisa's story is part of a longer special that our friend and colleague Taronda Thomas has put together for you tomorrow night. It airs 9:30 on Channel 20. Courageous conversations about living with disabilities in Colorado. We'll take you to a playground where they believe no child should be forced to sit and watch the other kids play. Your good news this Friday began a decade ago when this man's misfortune made the evening news. A Coloradan's idea for hemp-infused whiskey.
As I promised the government, it will not get too high. It's been tested too many times.
But could he convince the feds? Next.
Did you hear that thunderstorm that just cruised through the Denver metro area about an hour or so ago? Gusty winds, some very heavy rain out there, and I think we could be in for round 2 later tonight into tomorrow morning. Your weekend headlines tomorrow, a few areas seeing some light rain showers possible, especially to the south of Denver. Some folks waking up to some patchy fog. And then once again, those storms, they are back like clockwork tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures staying in the low 80s both Saturday and Sunday. So a huge cool off from today. Right now, still keeping a close eye on these thunderstorms that are pushing in from the southwest, still tapping into that monsoon. Strongest thunderstorms are across the eastern plains. A lot of water out there, a lot of lightning too. We only have one severe thunderstorm warning, and that should expire within the next 3 minutes. Here in the metro, just a few light rain showers, gusty winds. We've cooled things off quite a bit, but I'd still keep the umbrella around if you're going to be out and about tonight. Still some scattered storms across the San Juans and through the Sangre de Cristos, and I'm anticipating those continuing throughout the evening. Here it is tomorrow morning, the entire state covered in clouds, and a lot of folks to the south still looking at the rain as well as that fog. Perhaps a quick break midday with a little sunshine trying to sneak through. Don't count on much. Scattered showers once again return to the metro tomorrow afternoon and possibly through the evening. We're back to the low 80s around the metro, a little bit cooler in the 60s and 70s up in the high country. And your planning forecast, keeping it cool for the next couple of days, keeping the thunderstorms in the forecast pretty much each and every afternoon. Then there's that sunshine, Kyle, you've been waiting for.
You know exactly what I'm waiting for. All right. Thanks to Grant. All right. So when you try to snag those millions playing the lottery and you end up losing, you wonder who really wins? Our Marshall Zellinger went to Greeley to meet the winners, who incidentally aren't old enough to play the lottery.
Avon, are you ready?
Yeah.
Avon was born at 25 weeks premature. She was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at about 3 months old. Before this park, she would sit in the shade and not interact with her brother at all.
Avon, ready? Oof. When I would get ungrateful about going to a park, my mom would always say, you should be grateful for it because your sister can't. And now I can play with her.
We do have to help carry her, get her in or out of her chair, but she can slide on her own, she can swing on her own. The zip line with some support.
Avon's Village is all about providing an environment for people of all abilities to come out and recreate. This is an excellent example of lottery dollars at use. We received $327,000 from the Colorado Lottery. On Monday, we'll be receiving the Starburst Award for excellence in use of lottery dollars. The overall cost of this park was about $1.3 million. In order to do the elements right and provide all the sensory and stimulation type activities and elements, it does cost quite a bit of money to do it right. Through touch, through textile.
So go down there.
We also have a musical area where they can experience different sounds. These areas they can bang and drum on. We've incorporated Braille into the elements so they can learn as they play.
There is wheelchair access to every point in the park.
You want to do something different?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She's a lot more excited. We can be sitting at home and say, Avon, you want to go play at the park? And she gets almost ecstatic. She just loves to be outside and play, and she can do that now.
Lottery money helps fund Great Outdoors Colorado. Last year, $143 million in lottery proceeds went to projects like that adaptive playground.
A little hemp, a little whiskey. It's an idea that is the most Colorado thing we saw today. A decade ago, he was watching his dreams slip away. Tonight, he shares his good news. And our friend Cody Broadway joins me with your feedback on his brave story about living with Bell's palsy. Next.
The most Colorado thing we saw today is a guy up in Crested Butte who is fighting the U.S. government for the right to make hemp whiskey, something that just sounds like it should be invented here. Our Ann Herbst tells us about this guy's 16-month battle against a 17-year-old law.
Kind of a picturesque little place.
The real estate game is played using a lot of factors.
This is a good property, yeah.
And location, location, location
900 square feet of
is a big one.
Cold Creek Distillery. Superman's fortress of solitude, me and my thoughts and my whiskey.
Brian Phillips knows Crested Butte is a prime spot.
Come on in, Cold Creek.
For his craft distillery.
Always made a pretty good whiskey until I got out here and made a first batch. Then it went kind of off the chart. It was the combination of the Olathe sweet corn that we use and the water from the mountain behind us My business card says Master Distiller, Man in Charge.
It used to say real estate lease negotiator.
Well, I work for a multi-billion-dollar automotive giant.
That negotiator part of his old job title has come in handy lately.
I jumped through about 900 hoops to get this thing done.
Small batch 64.
Basically named after Amendment 64 that passed the legalization of marijuana in the state of Colorado.
It's a whiskey that highlights hemp.
First in Colorado, first in the United States.
As an ingredient.
Managed to wade through 16 months of federal boxing to get a spirit distilled with hemp and corn. As I promised the government, it will not get you high. It's been tested too many times.
Red tape aside, Brian says after years in real estate,
that is the $1 million view.
He's now found what's real.
It's very fulfilling to finally say, hey, I made that.
For Next, this is Ann Herbst.
Brian says most of the ingredients he uses in his spirits are local, so that hemp will be Colorado grown. Our good news this Friday comes courtesy of a businessman who thought he was losing everything. And our Cody Broadway steps back in front of the camera with your feedback on his battle with Bell's palsy. A decade ago, a fire burned on South Broadway in Denver. Remember Freaky's, the place at Broadway in Ellsworth? Well, right next door was Doherty's Pub. Still is Doherty's. And the owner, Wes, remembers that day as he shares his good news.
Find something on my computer real quick. Sorry guys, I'm not very, this is what I sent to the fire department. I mean, it was 10 years ago, but the fact is, you know, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Just doing our job. That's what a fireman told me after saving the building at Broadway in Ellsworth on March 28, 2007. Doherty's Restaurant and Pub was a dream of mine, and it had only been open for 5 months when a fire consumed the business just on the other side of the wall from us. I hope that firefighter has never had to feel the dread and sheer terror that I felt to see everything I loved about to be destroyed. At that moment, I felt like I was losing my wife, my business, my house. I remember writing it. I kind of get choked up thinking about it. It was, I was freaking out. I was sitting over there and just, I didn't know if it was going to go up. Like, there you go, boys, stay safe. But yeah, it's been pretty awesome. I ain't gonna lie. First and foremost, it's a thank you just for doing your job. Love and respect to Wes and Tina.
What a story there. Our visual producer, Cody Broadway, is along for feedback tonight because it was your personal story about dealing with Bell's palsy that brought in a ton of feedback last night.
Yeah, you know, I just really want to thank everyone for the support because, you know, when this hit me, it was a big shock. You know, something I'm not used to, and to hear everyone's personal stories, it was really inspiring for me.
Yeah, a lot of people are pulling for you and offering suggestions and all kinds of encouragement, and you're not alone.
Yeah, and you know, everyone had some really great suggestions that I'm definitely going to try out. Right now I'm in speech therapy, and that seems to be going pretty well. I have a little bit of improvement. So hopefully the next couple of weeks we can get this back.
Good stuff. Final word, Mama Hollis says Kyle Clark out there looking like he's about to read a bedtime story to 3 kids in a living room with a dead bear on the wall. Well, you don't like the jacket? Cody likes the jacket.
I love the jacket.
I'll see you next time.